G'day everybody. I'm going to look at blues rhythm playing. Most guitar players tend to really like hot blues licks like that, but unfortunately the reality is 99% of the time you're going to be playing rhythm. So you might as well make it interesting for yourself and for people listening. So I'm going to look at some non-standard sort of rhythm things we can play in the key of A. So by standard I mean the old. That's great, you can get a lot of mileage out of that, but it does get a little bit old after a while. So what I'm going to look at is playing something that sort of sits in between blues and jazz and borrows heavily from Hammond B3 players and what they tend to do in organ trios. So this rhythm approach is really only going to work in dominant or major blues. It cannot work in minor blues, unfortunately. That's not to say you can't do similar things in minor blues, but the thing I'm going to show you today is a major thing. So it starts with an A major triad up here on the 5th fret. So what we would know as an F shape, although we're only interested in the D, G and B strings. We're going to play this twice. You can either play it with your thumb, like that, or you can pluck it with your fingers. After that you're going to go with your index finger flat across the 7th fret, and this is going to give you a D major chord. Harmonically speaking, we would see this as like a D with an A in bass, because what's happening is we're getting this sort of slightly rising melody, but the bass note remains constant. So we get, and then we're going to go up to this next one here. So the bass note does change over this one. So we get 7th fret D, oh sorry, 9th fret D, my mistake, 9th fret G, and 8th fret B. So that's essentially an E minor. And an E minor chord is the same as an A9 chord. So you can think of these as 3 separate chords, but really what's happening is it's just chord substitution based on chords in the key of A. So we get, now when we get to D, we can just move that whole thing up to the 10th fret and do exactly that. But it sounds nice to keep the voice leading close together, and by that I mean rather than jumping up with the melody, to keep it around the same area. They're the principles that composers like Bach, Beethoven really based a lot of their pieces on, smooth voice leading, and Miles Davis had a lot to say about smooth voice leading. So when you get to D, what you can do here is you can play what looks like an A minor shape. That's actually a D9. We've got the D with the A in bass, then we have the 5th fret, which is a C, that's on the G string, and then we have 5th fret of the B, which is an E. And then you move that up a tone, and then up a semitone, and you're going to play it's essentially just a C chord, but remember, a C with a D in bass is just a version of a D7 chord or a D9. So we have, then back to A. Now when you get to E, there's a couple of things you can do here. You could do the same thing like we did in A and E, going like that, but again it breaks the voice leading. So you might want to just vamp on one chord. You could go the good old Hendrix chord, that'd work, and that would lead back into D. You could come up with your own sort of E vamp, so you could do some of this like that, or so that's me going from an E13, which is 5th fret A, 6th fret D, 6th fret G, 5th fret B, up to a regular E9. And then if you want a really bright sound, you could go up to E7 like that. That might be a little bit bright for a blues because the G sharp that I'm playing in the top here while it's the third of an E7 chord, it's the leading note, which is the major seventh in a blues, and it might stick out a little bit. So you could just go to the Hendrix chord, and that ends up with the same melody as the A one. But it's reharmonized, so it sounds kind of hip. So you could have to D, back to A, and the last bar I would just sit on an E, or you could 2/5 it. Now this doesn't have to be done in the rhythm I had before. You could have but that's just a very simple idea that sounds great. I mean, if I'm playing a blues that's essentially the same as that, I'll do a whole bunch of different things if I'm backing up a singer or other soloists. You know, I might do it for a chorus or two. I might go, then I might go into what I just showed you for. What I like about this is it's melodic and it's really rhythmic, and my favorite kind of shuffle is when you get drummers that do like the sort of double shuffle with the snare and the ride, and this plays into that perfectly. Have fun with that. Give us a follow, share this around, and I'll catch you.